Lieutenant Mina Park adjusted her uniform one last time before stepping off the transport shuttle. The gleaming interior of the Confederation flagship, Celestial Harmony, stretched before her, its curved architecture unlike anything built by human hands. As the first human representative in the Galactic Confederation's military exchange program, she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Commander Tahoe, a slender Lintari with iridescent scales and 4 arms, greeted her with a formal bow. "Lieutenant Park, welcome aboard. I trust your journey was comfortable." "Thank you, Commander." "The trip was fascinating," Mina replied, matching his formal tone. Behind Commander Tahoe stood Technical Officer Dury, a short, squat being with large compound eyes that seemed to analyze Mina's every movement. Mina noticed the subtle surprise in their expressions as they observed her. "We are most intrigued to have a representative from your planet," Dury said, their translator device giving their voice a metallic quality. "Though we must admit, we did not expect your kind to be so robust. Your world is classified as a moderate gravity planet, is it not?" Mina nodded politely, already sensing the misconception. The Confederation had somehow categorized Earth as a low-threat environment, despite its relatively high gravity and diverse ecosystems. "We'll begin your standard assessments tomorrow," Commander Tahoe explained as they walked. "All military personnel must complete them for proper assignment." Mina smiled. "I look forward to it." The 3 of them walked through the massive ship. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about. Some flew, some crawled, and others walked on many legs. Mina tried not to stare, but it was hard. She had trained for months for this mission, but seeing so many different life forms in person was overwhelming. The hallways were wide and tall to allow for the various sizes of crew members. The walls glowed with a soft blue light. Mina noticed that the temperature kept changing as they walked. It got warmer in some sections and cooler in others, probably to keep different species comfortable. "This will be your quarters," Tahoe said, stopping in front of a door. "We have tried to make it suitable for human needs." The room was simple but nice. It had a bed, a desk, and a small bathroom. The gravity felt a bit lighter than Earth, but Mina knew she would get used to it. The food dispensers have been programmed with human nutrition requirements, Dury explained, pointing to a machine on the wall. "If something is not to your liking, please inform us." After they left, Mina sat on the bed and took a deep breath. Her heart was racing with excitement. She was the first human to live among the Confederation species. How Earth had managed to stay hidden from the galactic community for so long was still a mystery to her. First contact had happened just 2 years ago, when a damaged Confederation scout ship crashed in the Pacific Ocean. The aliens were shocked to find an advanced civilization on what they had classified as a developing world. The exchange program was one of the first steps toward bringing Earth into the galactic community. Mina unpacked her few personal items. She placed a small photo of her family on the desk. Her parents had been so proud when she was selected for this mission. As a military engineer, she had the skills the Confederation was interested in, but she knew the real reason she was here was as a test case. How would humans integrate with alien species? Could they adapt to life in space? The next morning, a soft chime woke her. "Lieutenant Park, your presence is requested in Assessment Chamber 4, a computerized voice announced. Mina put on her uniform and followed the directions on her datapad. The assessment chamber was large and filled with various pieces of equipment. Some looked like gym machines, while others were completely foreign to her. Commander Tahoe was waiting with several other aliens. One tall, thin alien with purple skin stood next to a machine that looked like a treadmill. "Lieutenant, this is Medical Officer Hana," Tahoe said. "She will oversee your physical assessment." Hana nodded. Her long neck bent gracefully. "We will start with basic measurements and then move to physical capabilities," she said. Her voice was soft and musical, unlike Dury's mechanical tone. The tests began simply enough. They measured Mina's height, weight, and vital signs. Hannah seemed surprised by Mina's heart rate and blood pressure. Is something wrong? Mina asked. Not wrong, Hannah said. Just different. Your body seems to be operating under constant stress, but you appear calm. That's normal for humans, Mina explained. Next came the physical tests. Mina ran on the treadmill-like machine while sensors monitored her body. The speed increased gradually, but Mina kept pace easily. She noticed the aliens watching her with growing interest. Enough, Hannah said finally. Your endurance is remarkable, Lieutenant. Mina wasn't even breathing hard. The machine had been set for what the aliens considered a challenging pace, but it was barely a workout for her. The strength tests were next. Mina was asked to lift various weights. She started with small ones and moved up. The aliens kept increasing the weight, their expressions growing more shocked with each successful lift. This is most unexpected, Dury said, checking the readings on their device. According to our data, your muscle density should not allow for this level of strength. Earth's gravity is stronger than you estimated, Mina explained. We evolved to handle it from birth. The final test involved a machine with 2 handles. Mina was instructed to grip them and push. This will measure your maximum exertion capacity, Hannah explained. Please use all your strength. Mina nodded and grabbed the handles. She took a deep breath and pushed with all her might. The machine whined, and the display showed rapidly increasing numbers. The aliens watched in amazement as the numbers passed what they had expected. Then, with a loud crack, something broke inside the machine. Sparks flew from the control panel, and the display went dark. Alarms began to sound, and several security officers rushed into the room. They surrounded Mina, weapons drawn. What happened? Tahoe demanded. Dury was examining the broken machine. She exceeded the maximum capacity. The internal components failed. That's impossible, Hannah said. This equipment is designed for species from high-gravity worlds. All eyes turned to Mina, who stood awkwardly in the center of the room. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean to break it. You asked for my maximum strength. The room fell silent as the aliens looked at each other. Then, slowly, Commander Tahoe began to laugh. It seems, he said, we have greatly underestimated the humans. Word of the broken testing equipment spread quickly through the celestial harmony. By morning, the testing chamber was filled with various alien species. They gathered behind transparent barriers, eager to observe the human who had shocked the Confederation scientists. Mina felt like a zoo animal as she entered the room. Our assessment will continue today with more specialized tests, Technical Officer Dury said. Their large compound eyes blinked rapidly as they adjusted settings on a control panel. Mina could tell they were still upset about yesterday's broken equipment. Commander Tahoe stood nearby, watching closely. We have recalibrated our expectations, Lieutenant Park. Today's tests will better match your capabilities. Mina nodded. She had slept well despite the lighter gravity. The food from the dispenser had been bland but filling. She felt ready for whatever challenges they had planned. Please proceed to the reflex examination, Dury instructed, pointing to a circular platform in the center of the room. Mina stepped onto the platform. A machine rose from the floor around her. It had several small cannons pointed inward. This test will measure your reaction time, Dury explained. The machine will fire soft projectiles at various speeds. Try to dodge or catch as many as you can. Understood, Mina said, taking a ready stance. The machine hummed to life. A small ball shot toward Mina's left shoulder. She caught it easily. Another came from behind. She stepped aside and snatched it from the air. Soon, balls were flying from all directions. Mina moved with practiced ease, her body twisting and turning to avoid each projectile. When she couldn't dodge, she caught them, her hands moving in a blur. Behind the observation glass, the alien spectators murmured in surprise. Commander Tahoe consulted with a tall, bird-like alien in a science uniform. The human's performance exceeds our projections by 43%, Tahoe said, looking at a data screen. Impossible, the bird-like scientist replied. Check the calibration again. After 10 minutes, Dury shut down the machine. Mina stood in the center of the platform, surrounded by caught projectiles, not a single one having touched her. Not bad, she said with a small smile. We play games like this on Earth for fun. We call it dodgeball. Dury made a sound that might have been a scoff. Next is the endurance test. They led Mina to a machine that resembled a treadmill, but with an odd rippling surface. This device will adapt to your movement patterns to maintain maximum exertion levels, Dury explained. Please run until you need to stop. Mina stepped onto the machine. The surface began to move under her feet. She started running at a comfortable pace. The machine adjusted, becoming more difficult. Mina increased her speed to match it. Her breathing remained steady, her posture straight. 1 hour passed. Then 2. Behind the glass, the crowd had grown larger. Admin officials had joined the scientists. They watched in fascination as the human continued to run without signs of tiring. How long can your species maintain physical activity? Commander Tahoe asked through an intercom. Depends on the person, Mina replied, her voice remarkably steady despite her pace. Some humans can run for days with minimal rest. Days, Dury exclaimed, their eyes blinking rapidly in what Mina had come to recognize as distress. They turned to the control panel. The readings must be wrong. This cannot be accurate. The machine was now at its highest setting. Mina ran steadily, her body glistening with sweat, but her breathing still controlled. The rippling surface had become a series of obstacles, forcing her to jump, sidestep, and sprint in different patterns. Still, she maintained her pace. After 4 hours, Commander Tahoe finally called a halt to the test. Mina stepped off the machine, stretched her legs, and took a drink from the water container offered to her. That was a good workout, she said, though I could have gone longer. The testing continued throughout the day. Mina displayed exceptional hand-eye coordination, balance, and cognitive function under physical stress. With each test, the alien observers grew more amazed and concerned. The human body appears optimized for sustained physical output, one scientist noted. Their muscles do not fatigue at expected rates. Their reaction time is nearly twice what we projected, another added. By late afternoon, the regular testing equipment had been pushed to its limits. Mina had broken no more machines, but only because Dury had been careful to stop the tests before maximum capacity was reached. Commander Tahoe approached Mina, who was sitting on a bench, barely showing signs of fatigue after a full day of intense physical testing. Lieutenant Park, we need to reassess your capabilities in our Class A facility, he said. Mina looked up at him, a small furrow in her brow. Is there a problem? She asked innocently. Not a problem, Tahoe replied carefully. His 4 hands made a gesture Mina couldn't interpret, a discrepancy in our understanding. What's a Class A facility? Mina asked as she stood up. It is designed for species from high-stress environments. Dury explained, their voice sounding resigned. Worlds with extreme gravity, atmospheric pressure, or environmental hazards. You think Earth is that kind of world? Mina asked. We are beginning to suspect so, Tahoe said. Your performance today suggests humans evolved under conditions we had not previously recognized. As they walked through the ship toward the new facility, Mina noticed other crew members moving aside, watching her with new interest and caution. Word had spread quickly about the humans' abilities. The Class 8 facility was located in a different section of the ship. The doors were thicker, the corridors wider. The aliens they passed here were different too, bulkier, with tough-looking hides or exoskeletons. These species gave Mina appraising looks rather than fearful ones. Tomorrow, we will test you against our standards for high-gravity species, Tahoe explained. The equipment there is designed to withstand much greater forces. I'll try not to break anything else, Mina said with a small smile. Tahoe made a sound that might have been a laugh. Perhaps that would be best. Our budget for replacement equipment is not unlimited. As Mina returned to her quarters that evening, she thought about the day's events. The Confederation had clearly underestimated humans. She wondered what other surprises awaited them, and what it would mean for Earth's place in the galactic community. In her room, she recorded a message to send back to Earth Command. Day 2 of testing. They're starting to realize what humans can do. Tomorrow, they're moving me to facilities designed for high-gravity species. I think we're about to change their entire classification system. The Class 8 testing facility was noticeably different from the standard testing areas Mina had seen before. The walls were reinforced with thick metal plates. The equipment looked heavier, bulkier, and much more durable. Security personnel stood at various points around the room, their eyes constantly scanning for trouble. Mina noticed they paid special attention to her as she entered. Several massive aliens were already using the equipment. One creature with thick, leathery skin lifted weights that looked like they would crush a car. Another being with multiple limbs ran on a reinforced treadmill, its heavy footfalls making the floor vibrate. Officer Jiho, a security specialist with bony ridges along his jawline, approached Mina. His uniform was darker than the others, with extra padding at the shoulders and chest. This facility is designed for species from high-gravity worlds, he explained. His voice was deep and rumbled slightly. Commander Tahoe believes your capabilities may be underestimated. Mina nodded, trying to hide her amusement. Humans had always known they evolved on a relatively challenging world, but the Confederation's classification system had somehow missed this fact. They had categorized Earth as a moderate or even low-gravity planet, which explained their surprise at her performance. "I'm ready to begin whenever you are," she said. Jiho led her to an area with various lifting equipment. Technical Officer Dury was already there, along with Commander Tayo and several scientists Mina hadn't met before. "We will start with basic strength assessment," Dury explained. "These weights are calibrated for high-gravity species." The first weight looked manageable, about the size of a basketball, but clearly much heavier. Mina picked it up easily. Dury made a note on their device and gestured to the next weight, which was twice as large. This pattern continued. Each new weight was heavier than the last. What started as manageable weights quickly progressed to loads that would crush ordinary objects on Earth. Yet Mina continued, her Earth-evolved muscles handling the strain. She had always been strong, even by human standards, but here she was representing her entire species. By the fifth weight, a crowd had gathered. Aliens of various shapes and sizes watched from a safe distance. Mina heard whispers and clicks as they communicated among themselves. "The human has exceeded the vortex strength threshold," one scientist announced, looking at a data screen. "That's impossible," replied another. Vortex evolved on a world with 1.8 times standard gravity. Among the observers was a new figure, a being whose form seemed to float above the ground. Its body was mostly tentacles surrounding a central mass, with 6 eyes placed strategically around what might be called a head. "Admiral Sunmi," Commander Tahoe said with a respectful bow. "We didn't expect you to attend today's testing." "Word travels quickly on this ship," the Admiral replied. All 6 eyes remained fixed on Mina. "I wanted to see the human's capabilities for myself." Mina lifted the 7th weight, a dense metal sphere that took all her strength to raise above her head. She held it there for 10 seconds, then carefully set it down. Sweat dripped from her forehead, but she smiled. "That was challenging," she admitted, "but I could probably go one more." The 8th weight was brought out. It took 2 security officers to position it. The sphere was nearly as tall as Mina herself and looked impossibly heavy. "This weight is used for testing Chronax warriors," Dury explained. "Species from a world with twice Earth's gravity. Few beings can lift it." Mina took a deep breath. She knew she was at her limit, but something drove her to try. Perhaps it was pride in representing Earth, or maybe just the human instinct to push boundaries. She bent her knees, positioned her hands on either side of the massive weight, and lifted. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a grunt of effort, Minna began to raise the sphere. Her muscles burned, her face reddened with strain. The weight rose inch by inch until it was at waist level, then chest level. With one final push, she raised it above her head. The room fell silent. Even Admiral Sumney's tentacles had stopped moving. "Impossible," someone whispered. After holding the position for 5 seconds, Minna carefully lowered the weight back to the floor. Her arms trembled slightly, but she stood tall. "Well done, Lieutenant," Admiral Sumney said, floating closer. "You have impressed us all." Commander Tahoe stepped forward. "We have one final test, if you are willing." The Maximum Exertion Analyzer is used to measure the absolute limits of strength for the galaxy's most powerful beings. Minna looked at the device they indicated. It was a large machine with 2 handles facing each other. Between them was a complex array of mechanical and electronic components. "Is it safe?" she asked, remembering the equipment she had already broken. "This machine is designed to withstand the strongest beings in the Confederation," Joe assured her. "It's built with materials that can endure extreme pressures." Minna walked to the machine and stood in position. The handles were cool to the touch and fit her hands perfectly. "Push the handles toward each other with all your strength," Dury instructed. "The machine will resist and measure your maximum force." Minna took several deep breaths, preparing herself. The room had grown even more crowded. Even the other high-gravity species had stopped their workouts to watch. With a determined expression, Minna gripped the handles firmly and began to push. The machine hummed as it registered the force. The display showed rapidly increasing numbers as she pushed harder. "She's already at level 3, someone reported. "Impossible," came another voice. "Humans shouldn't be able to." Minna pushed harder, channeling every ounce of strength she had. The machine whined louder, its indicators climbing higher. The display showed level 5, then 6, pushing into ranges that even some of the high-gravity species couldn't reach. Then came a sharp crack, like a gunshot. A shower of sparks erupted from the center of the machine. Minna jumped back just as the supposedly unbreakable apparatus fractured at its core. Smoke poured from the damaged components. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed along the walls. Security personnel moved quickly, some toward Minna, others toward emergency equipment. "Containment breach in testing facility 8, announced an automated voice. "All personnel evacuate immediately." In the chaos that followed, Minna stood still, looking at the broken machine with a mixture of embarrassment and amazement. She had done what the Confederation had thought impossible. She had broken equipment designed for the strongest beings in the galaxy. And all she had done was push as hard as she could. The alarms finally stopped after 5 minutes. The red emergency lights turned back to normal. Minna stood in the center of a circle of security officers, their weapons not quite pointed at her but definitely ready. The broken machine smoked and sparked occasionally. "You broke it," Technical Officer Dury stated, their voice somewhere between accusation and awe. Their large compound eyes blinked rapidly. "This device is constructed from reinforced quantum-locked alloys. It has never failed." Minna looked at the damaged equipment. "I'm sorry. I just did what you asked. I pushed with all my strength." Commander Tahoe approached cautiously. "Lieutenant Park, that machine was designed to withstand forces from species 3 times your size, species that evolved on worlds with crushing gravity." The security personnel had surrounded Minna immediately after the incident, but their postures had gradually relaxed from defensive to merely cautious. They seemed to realize she wasn't a threat, at least not intentionally. Admiral Sumney floated forward, her tentacles moving in gentle waves. All 6 of her eyes focused on Minna with intense interest. "Fascinating," the Admiral said. "Tell me, Lieutenant Park, what is the gravitational force on your homeworld?" 9.8 meters per second squared, Minna replied. She frowned slightly. "Is that relevant?" The Admiral's translator took a moment to convert the measurement. When it did, a ripple of surprise moved through the gathered aliens. They looked at each other with expressions Mina couldn't read. Some equivalent of shock, perhaps. "That cannot be correct," one scientist said. "Check the conversion again." Dury worked quickly at a new console, their fingers flying over the controls. "The conversion is accurate. Earth's gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared." "But that would mean," Commander Tahoe began. "Your species evolved on a world with nearly twice the gravity of the Confederation average," explained Dury, still furiously inputting data. "The standard gravity we use for classification is 5.2 meters per second squared, combined with your oxygen-rich atmosphere and variable climate extremes. Earth should have been classified as a death world." Commander Tahoe finished. "Category 12, at minimum. A death world." Mina repeated. The term was new to her. Admiral Summy moved closer. "Death worlds are planets with environmental conditions considered extremely hostile by galactic standards. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, dangerous wildlife, atmospheric toxins, environments that force species to evolve exceptional physical and mental capabilities to survive." "But Earth isn't that bad," Mina protested. "It's actually quite nice. To you, perhaps," Admiral Summy said, "because you evolved there. To most species in the Confederation, Earth would be a crushing, hostile environment." The next few hours were a blur of medical tests and interviews. Scientists scanned Mina's body in detail, marveling at her bone density, muscle structure, and nervous system. They asked endless questions about Earth, its weather, animals, diseases, natural disasters. "Your species regularly survives temperature variations of over 100 degrees, one scientist asked in disbelief. "Well, not all at once," Mina explained. "But yes, humans live in places from about -50 to +50 degrees Celsius. And your world has microorganisms that constantly try to invade your bodies, requiring complex immune systems." "Yes, that's normal," Mina said. "Doesn't everyone have immune systems?" "Not like yours," the scientist replied. "Your body is essentially at war at all times." By evening, Admiral Summy had called a special meeting of the Confederation Classification Council. The council's chamber was grand, with seats for representatives of dozens of species arranged in a semicircle. Mina stood in the center, feeling very small and suddenly very alien. "This emergency session of the Classification Council will now begin," announced a tall, thin alien with translucent skin. "We are here to address the matter of Earth's classification." Admiral Summy took the floor. "Honored representatives, today we witnessed something unprecedented. A human from Earth broke testing equipment designed for Category 10 species. Our initial classification of Earth as a Class 3 world was deeply flawed." Mina listened as the Admiral detailed the day's events and the new information about Earth. The council members murmured among themselves, occasionally glancing at Mina with what seemed like a mixture of fear and respect. "Based on our findings, I propose immediate reclassification of Earth as a Category 12 death world," Admiral Summy concluded, "and humans as death world species." The council voted unanimously in favor. A formal ceremony was quickly arranged. Mina stood before the Confederation Classification Council as humans were officially reclassified as Deathworlders, species that evolved in environments considered dangerously hostile by galactic standards. The council leader placed a special emblem on Mina's uniform, a red and black symbol that she later learned marked her as a being from a dangerous world. "Lieutenant Mina Park of Earth," the council leader intoned. "You are the first recognized Deathworlder from your planet. This classification carries both privileges and responsibilities." After the ceremony, Commander Tahoe explained the implications. "Deathworlders are rare in the Confederation, Lieutenant. Less than 3% of inhabited worlds qualify. Such species are both respected and approached with caution. This changes everything about Earth's integration into the Confederation," Admiral Summy added. "Your people will have special status. Many roles will be open to you that we would not normally consider for new member species." "What kind of roles?" Minna asked. Security, crisis response, search and rescue on extreme environment planets. The Admiral's tentacles moved in what might have been excitement. Deathworlders have physical capabilities that make them invaluable in dangerous situations. That night, Minna recorded another message for Earth Command. She tried to explain the day's events and the new classification, but found it difficult to convey the enormity of what had happened. They call us Deathworlders now, she said into the recorder. They think Earth is an extremely dangerous planet. They think we're incredibly strong and resilient, just because we evolved there. She paused, then added, and I guess, compared to them, we are. As she prepared for bed, Minna looked at the new emblem on her uniform. Deathworlder. It sounded ominous, even frightening. But to her, it simply meant human. A species that had evolved on a beautiful but challenging world. A species that had learned to survive and thrive against all odds. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new questions, new challenges. But for now, Minna Park was content knowing that she had changed the Confederation's understanding of humanity forever, simply by being herself. Within days, Lieutenant Minna Park had become something of a celebrity aboard the Celestial Harmony. Alien crew members watched her with a mixture of fascination and newfound respect as she moved through the corridors. Some kept their distance, eyeing the new red and black emblem on her uniform with caution. Others approached her with questions about Earth and humans. Is it true you can survive being frozen? Asked a small, furry alien engineer who worked in the engine room. Not completely frozen, Minna explained patiently. But humans can survive very cold temperatures for short periods. And you intentionally consume plants containing mild toxins. For pleasure? Asked another crew member. Minna laughed. You mean like spicy food? Yes, many humans enjoy the sensation. Her daily schedule had changed completely. Instead of more physical tests, she was now invited to strategy meetings, defense planning sessions, and diplomatic briefings. The Confederation leaders wanted to know everything about how humans might fit into their organization. Admiral Summy called Minna to a private meeting in her quarters. The Admiral's room was filled with a thin mist that Minna learned was comfortable for the Admiral's species. The tentacled being floated in the center of the room, all 6 eyes blinking in a pattern that suggested excitement. The reclassification has significant implications, Admiral Summy explained. Deathworlders possess unique qualities valuable to Confederation security. Minna sat in a specially designed chair. I'm still trying to understand what this means for Earth's relationship with the Confederation. It means you and your kind will be highly valued, the Admiral said. Many worlds in our alliance evolved in gentle environments. Their species are physically fragile compared to humans. Commander Tejo entered the room and joined the conversation. His 4 arms made a formal gesture of respect toward Minna, something he had never done before the reclassification. Your physical capabilities alone would make humans exceptional in crisis response and planetary defense, Tejo said. We face threats from outside the Confederation, species that evolved in harsh environments similar to Earth. Until now, we had few members who could match their physical prowess. Not to mention the psychological adaptations, added Dury, who entered carrying several data tablets. The technical officer had become almost obsessively interested in human biology since the incident with the broken machine. Your species' stress responses and risk assessment capabilities evolved under constant environmental threats. Dury displayed images of Earth, hurricanes, volcanoes, predatory animals, disease-causing microbes. You evolved on a world where danger could come from the sky, the ground, the water, even the air you breathe. Yet you survived. Not only survived, but built complex civilizations. Minna considered this new perspective. Earth had always just been home to her. She had never thought of it as particularly dangerous or extreme. We never thought of ourselves as particularly formidable, she said. On Earth, we're just normal. That's precisely what makes humans remarkable, Admiral Summy said, her tentacles moving in graceful patterns. You evolved extraordinary capabilities, and consider them ordinary. The Admiral floated closer. A species that considers hurricane-force winds a mere inconvenience, that routinely survives temperature ranges that would kill most Confederation species, that has immune systems capable of fighting off millions of microscopic invaders daily. When you put it that way, I guess Earth is pretty intense, Minna admitted. The Council has approved an expanded exchange program, Commander Tejo announced. We wish to invite more humans to join Confederation vessels and facilities, and in turn, we will send representatives to Earth, with appropriate environmental protection, of course. There will be challenges, Dury warned. Some species may fear Deathworlders. You will need to be careful not to accidentally harm others with your strength. And we will need to design proper accommodations for humans throughout Confederation space, added Tejo. Your environmental needs are robust. In the days that followed, Minna helped the Confederation engineers design better living quarters for future human visitors. She explained human needs for exercise, the importance of variable temperatures and dietary requirements. She demonstrated proper human sleeping arrangements and recreational activities. Many aliens were shocked by human resilience. When Minna accidentally cut her finger and explained that the wound would heal completely in a few days, several observers had to be reassured that she wasn't in danger of dying. Your body repairs itself, without medical intervention, one medical officer asked in disbelief. For minor injuries, yes, Minna said. It's normal for humans. Normal, the officer repeated, shaking its head in wonder. One evening, Commander Tejo invited Minna to observe a strategy meeting about a crisis on a distant planet. A settlement on a harsh desert world was in danger from massive sandstorms. The Confederation response team was struggling with the extreme conditions. This would be a perfect mission for humans, Tejo noted. Your environmental tolerance would allow longer work periods without protection. We have desert regions on Earth far more extreme than this, Minna said, looking at the data. Humans have lived in such environments for thousands of years. Admiral Sunmi made a decision. We will request human assistance through official channels. This will be the first joint emergency operation. As she prepared for bed that night, Minna composed a message to Earth Command. She carefully explained the day's developments and the new opportunities opening for humanity in the Confederation. The message grew longer as she tried to convey the strange experience of seeing her own species through alien eyes. Humans weren't just new members of the galactic community. They were exceptional beings from a world most aliens considered nightmarish. The Confederation had dramatically underestimated humans, but that misconception was now corrected. Humanity's place in the galactic community would change significantly, not through diplomacy or technology, but simply because of the challenging world that had shaped them. We didn't need to prove our worth, she wrote in conclusion. We just needed to show them who we already are. She sent the message and looked out her viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, a small blue planet that had forged her species into something the galaxy considered extraordinary. Minna smiled to herself. Tomorrow she would begin training the first Confederation security team in human techniques for operating in extreme environments. The aliens would struggle, but she would teach them patiently. And maybe, just maybe, some of them would begin to understand what it meant to be a Deathworlder. To be human. The end.